All right, it is Monday, October 20th. Going over on stockcharts.com, SCTR reports. And if I move this over right here, you can see this is the strength of the moves. Hit 99.9. You can flip it the other way. Zero. IT is a zero. KVUA is a zero point 0.1, means they're going the wrong way. IREN is going the right way. So let me just move this down. I'm going to go over a lot of these. Whoa, where'd it go? Lost it. Where did it go? There it is. All right, I'll move that back. When I'm doing it, these charts here. Let me see, where's it at here? All right. So we're going over the strength of the move. So 99.9 IREM. Yeah, these have been the top movers. And I have it, I'm going to put it end of the week, 1 week we'll do. So, this has been hot. Let me move this down here. Yeah, this has been hot going back ever since June. You're talking 10, 20. Look at the big dip down here. Didn't move that much compared to this. It was only a $5 move. And then you go up here to 20, 40, all the way to 75. Now, the green, I had this lime green. That's the buy signals, the algo. And then they're to sell or short. So we're coming up to a little volatility here. On this, the high was 74.15. It's been going down. It's been a good short now, 58, just like that. And look at the strength stochastics. It looks like the peak might have been back here 97. You can see up here 93. We're at 53 right now. So it's going down. Weekly chart. Yeah, it has been fading. You see the separation now since 10.3. It's a big shooting star wick. Now, how far will this go? That is the question. It remains to be seen. Hasn't crossed over to monthly. Once you have that, this could make a bigger move down. So I'd look for this. You have this trend line going back all the way September, 55, maybe 50, 55-ish. If it clears 50 here, it goes down. This is going to make a deep move down, and that's what you're going to look for. And of course, got to reclaim that high again now. But a good dip. This could be a very solid buy. We'll wait and see on that. All right, it's IREN, IREN, OKLO, OCLO, whatever you want to call it. This is another big mover. It's been 30, 70 back July, August. Look at this. Look at that big dip down here. 70 went to 140. Here's the buy in the algo, 120, 130. Goes to 190. This has been pulling back too on the high here, 193. It's at 159. Weekly chart. It says the shooting star wick too. Now look at on the weekly September 2024 low, very low in this April move. You're talking 931 stochastics. That was one of the best buys. You can see it going back and forth. It's been, the dips have been being bought, but the strength is fading on this weekly. You're talking 91, you're talking 85, and it's even lower now. Daily chart. So I'd look for this trend line up here. You can see it from September, October, 140, maybe 135, 140. That'll be a good bounce here, and we'll see if that happens on this. That's a 99.7 on the SCTR reports. All right, BMNR. Yeah, this has been a crazy stock. Remember this back in July? The low was 12. It went to 160. This is a 99.6. Comes down very hard. 30 bounces. Comes down again. This trend line right here, I'm gonna make it even lower now. It hasn't been doing anything lately. You're caught. And I'm gonna make a trend line right here on this. So after that move down, now you've been in this range pretty much, 30 to 70, came back up to 60, tried again. Very tight range here. You can see this, and it's getting oversold again. And what's it going to do here? You do have this line here. It could try to come up here. It hasn't crossed over yet, but it's very oversold. Weekly chart, it is pointing up. That's a good sign. Any news right here? Look at the monthly. It's trying to cross over. So, this you'd look for back to that 65, about 60, 65 range. The slow's got a hold, even though I made it a little lower. It's not exactly connecting here, but you don't want this to fade below really, I would say 40. All right, the next one, SNDK. SNDK. This is at a 99.4. Moves the line up here. You can see this relatively new IPO February. Going back, look at this 30 line, 50 line. Goes all the way up to 110. These moves are incredible. Incredible holes, these swings. What's this, about a month and a half? And then it comes up again, very choppy here, this 130. Looked like it was going down. And look at this again. Goes back up, 149. All right, the weekly chart in this, where are we at in this? All right, the weekly, there's your move up July, move down. The high or the low get higher. It's at 89. And you can see not much on the monthly because it's too new of a stock. If this falls again, you look for maybe 120, 130 watch. This is very high up there. That's why I don't like these moves at the very top of the move right now. Anything could just derail this real fast, but it's been moving very strong. NBIS, this is a 99.3. You can see this going back to November newer IPO 20, 50. It goes back up past 50 to 70. You can see this climb. And right here at a buy 910, 90, the algo goes to 140. A lot of red candles in here now. It is fading down near the 2125 stochastics. They move this all the way over. You can see some of these low points have been good buys, very low dips. It hasn't crossed, so how low will this go? Will this go even to 100, under 100? But this gap right here, so I would look for support at 90 if we go there. Weekly chart, it's been crossed over for a while now, since 1010. So that's where we're at on this. Let me actually make this, need a trend line here, right about here. So you can see right here, you're from the trend line, you're in front, and then eventually you just cross down right here. My algos, I didn't put anything on all these yet, but it's probably a short around here. So it's been a good short, 130 to 109. NBIS, a 99.3 rating. ASTS, here's another one. This is Space Mobile. This is 99.2 rating. This has been going up. Crazy moves in this 20. Look at this 60. Notice buy here September 9/11/38 goes to 65, goes to 100 plus. This is another one that I'm having trouble. It's going down now. That big shooting star wick 102. You're at 83. This is crossing down too. Weekly chart. There's that shooting star. They all have this now. Is this going to mean a big drop? Is this like the end of the move for a lot of these? At least, very big drop. It's hard to say it. You do have a crossover on the weekly. That's not good. Monthly chart doesn't show much yet. So here's another one where we stopping on this. So you have the gap right here, 80. If you don't hold 80, you're going to 75, most likely to 65, 70 range. So we'll see if that happens on this stock. All right, CDE mining has been hot. This is a 99.1 rating. Gold just keeps going. Gold right now is at 43.65. I said it might get to 5,000, in the next year. It might get it by the end of this year. I'd never seen a run like this in gold. I did a video, many videos in my car to remember. I'm like, gold's at 2,000. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to get to 2,500, 3,000. But I thought like 3 to 5 years. The pace of this is like penny stock gold. It's hard to explain the way it's going up like this. I just think the market's going to have some sort of big move down with all this pumped up AI, quantum, SPACs. Everything's just so frothy. It's got to mean something, eventually, but nothing yet. All right, CDE 10. all the way to 23. It's a nice hold all the way from August. Yeah, there's a top of the trend line, putting us all the way back from April. Yeah, it's been grinding up. Seeing this middle, you hit the high. If you hit back to this low line, it'd be like 19. It is fading the strength though. You can see this so slightly. It is going down. Weekly chart, it's trying to make that curve back up again. Monthly, it's still going up. So I would watch this 19 trend line, about 19. CRDO. There, I wrote the algo alert here. Look at this in April. This was at 40. Another one just goes to 170. You put your cash in all these back in April and they just flow, just like in COVID and eventually 2022. It's hard to explain how everything's just up this high from Trump tariffs and then it wasn't a big deal. But the pace of the market going up is absolutely incredible. All right, so 100, 110. There was a short here, 170. This is very choppy action. Look at this. How can you read this? Red, green. Look at this red. Then you held this trend line and you're going back up 153. So if this breaks 156 plus, back to new highs on this. Weekly chart, it's a crossover. It's very good to see for longs, monthly. It's still way out there. So this is looking better than most right now as it's holding this wedge. Now look at the wedge too. This is another learning lesson, broadening wedge. Look how low, and then the volatility, the high line, comes back to a low line. It's always new low line developing, and look at this go up. So impressive, and the width of the moves too. The width of the broadening wedge means big volatility. That was a 99 rating. All right, RKLB. Let me get this out of the way. That is the Fibonacci. I don't want to see that right now. Let me draw this line all the way up. And then your low line. So RKLB is a 98.9 rating. This was at 15, goes to 50, comes back to 40, near 75. Now, the last big run was in early October. Look at this, 45, just like that. At 70. It's having trouble at this 70 mark. You can see these wicks. Draw your line. It's fading a little bit on Stochastics weekly chart. Strength is fading here. It's not showing much. It's the monthly. The monthly has that weird move. It wanted to go down. Now it's like slanting up. Big trend line. You actually want this to get about 50. Goodbye. Goes back up again. The trend is your friend. This is like most of these stocks, ETFs, the trend has been up since April. It's that simple. If this does come down lower, 65, you want to hold right back here about 63-ish. MP. All right, MP. This has been good since June. Look at this, 20. Move down to 30, back up to 80. Look at that shooting star. You go down. Doesn't go down that much, though. When you go back up, 65. To near 80. And then look at 65, you get a 100. And then here's your pullback, 83 or 80. You have multiple trend lines, 75, 70, and then you have about 60 right here. Weekly chart. Weekly chart did look like it peaked back here. 8-1. It was at 95.41 stochastics. Then the next little move here was 80. So this high, you get lower, and you're fading down. Big shooting star. Eventually we're going to see next few months it's down here, the move. I mean, anything's possible. It's just like starting. So we'll see what happens in this. All right, here's SATS, Echo Star. This was at 25, 98.7 rating. 25.30 goes to 85. Look at the cross, goes down. Now it's trying to go back up. You might retest that 85. Has to hold here to 68, or it could probably fall to 50 if something would go wrong here. A weekly chart and a monthly in this one. All right, SYM. I'm gonna move this line so it's closer. You hit that peak now. All right, so on this has been an uptrend too. You're talking 20. Yeah, look at this. Right, move to 65 in a few months. Pulls back at a slower trend line, 45, and you go to 80. And this one's too having trouble with the peak here. It keeps going up, but it's going down now on Stochastics weekly chart. Another shooting star wick. This put in a high in Stochastics, 96 in July. Fades again. You're at 78. Look at this go down now. So a lot of these moves could be peaking, but if this does fall, you would look towards this 50-55 line. It'd be the lower trend line on SYN. It's a 98.6 rating. CLS, another beautiful uptrend. This is another classic wedge. Look at this broadening wedge from April. Low, high line. There's your low line. Pretty tight, too. You're talking 60, near 300 if you held this. What a move. The last big dip was in August. You're at 272. This is kind of a messy chart. Look at this. Usually you get, low, you'll come up, maybe a little dip, and look at this. It's a complete mess. It's all jaggedy edges. All right, the weekly, 97. You have 91, so it is getting decreasing. We'll see if this goes up past that monthly chart. You have another one. It's like even here. Usually when you finally cross over, it'll go down. It hasn't happened yet. There's your trend line. I would say about 220, 230 within there if we get a big drop on that. WDC, Western Digital. Another one. Start in April. Look at this low little line and this high little line. Look how tight it was. It's 30 to 40. It looks like nothing now because you just went to 140. Absolutely amazing. It was a big ride, no volatility until, well, you actually volatility go up 80. That was the volatility in little September. Then you go past 130. You get to a high of 137. Then you get down, you're at 130 now. Now it is fading too. This one on the daily chart, weekly, you have a high here, 98. Stochastics, you have 97. So double top that's fading down. And right here, let's say about September, the crossover, red over white, you're going down now. Look at this, down. So the strength is decreasing on this too. A lot of strength is decreasing, but you don't have no big move in the market, or these aren't moving down tremendously yet. If you fall, I would look for 95-ish. That trend line right there would be the trend line. Now it could fall, a little bit lower and then bounce again, but I'm saying this is the lower line you would look for. All right, CIN. This is a 98.3. Here's another one. April's 50, moves to 80. Breaks 100 and off we go. 120. It's like speeding down the Germany Autobahn. 110, 174. Just keeps going higher. Weekly, look at the low in April. That low in April is going to be one of the all-time lows. Big U shape. Look at this U. Go down, back up. Perfect U. 946 stochastics, and this just takes off. All right, daily chart. I don't even have a line for this. Here's your low line. So if this breaks down below 170, 64, and then we get a watch line to line on this. MU has been hot. MU took off from April as well. You're talking 61. It's at 207. Here's the move up. April, June. Yeah, the break of this one was the big break, really 130, and this took off to 170. And then you had to buy here again, 200. This looked like a good fade, just like everything else. You're putting in sometimes big red candles or a fade here and there, and it doesn't go down, not by much. Just on that day or a few days, and 190 you're at 207. Weekly chart. This is one's holding up well. The peak in this, you're talking 97 stochastics and then 95. get a little bit lower. So this could be fading too with this big broadening wedge. And then what's the monthly look like? Monthly still straight up. Look at this V since 2024. Big V. The white over red, there's no even movement. Maybe here this line moved slightly. And once you have a crossover down, that'll probably be the move down, and it's not happening yet. So you'd watch this 190 line, MU 98.2 rating. Let's check Hood, Robin Hood. Of course, this has been on fire too. They had a lot of news. They're going way back. This was 20, 30, it was at 70, 120. Yeah, a few little dips here. Goes a little bit of 150 plus. You're talking the high here, 153. You go below 130. Here's the move right here, right back up. So you mean right back up. And your low line on this will be about 115, which we get, well, almost close, 125. But that's the low line right now. Weekly chart. This is another one. It's fading right here. You have red over white. So to me, something's up too on this. That's clearly straight. It means there's probably more moves down monthly to going back to 23. Look at stochastics under 10, up, back down, back up. Look at this. Look at the moves, and you're at the highest peak. So this took over 2 years, rounding move, and eventually this is at $10. You imagine buying this at $10? Ugh. I mean, these moves are incredible. You look back on all these moves, sometimes it's like a few years. Every time there's a big dip in the market, and then we've repped the last 5 years, COVID, 2022, eventually April now, and the moves are incredible. $10. God, you could put in anything. This gives a 137. Yep, that's where we're at. Hood. All right, what else we got here? Hood, AMD. Let's check that out. AMD had that big news, remember, back in October, 160 to 240. In April, what was AMD in April? It was 76. Look at this. Took off. That was a good dip here back in September. All right, weekly, you have to move up. You just dip down and then get a 240. Monthly chart. Look at the monthly on AMD going back to 2018. Yeah, these moves, look how small the candles. In 2018, they said a low, so low was $9. I don't even remember AMD being $9. And then it goes at 160. Look at this wedge, broadening wedge. There's your low line, 18 connection point. 20, 22, 23, now 25. It's funny how everything connects in the market, doesn't it? Like you go back on charts and they connect perfectly almost. It's almost like everything, it's like we're in a simulation. Like the next move will eventually come down, probably this trend line, some big crash in the market, and they'll come back to 100 or something. But you can see here, notice on the monthly, big dip, 24 all the way down. Then you go all the way up. You're curving. See this curve in white? And now eventually, when you get that crossover, it's probably game over. This will be down big, but it's not happening right now. All right, here's Light Lumiton Holdings. Never heard of this. April, it was at 50. Another one, pretty clean up. Low line 50, 90. You get a 170, has trouble this 170 ish. And now it's making these big loops down. See this up, back down. Weekly chart, it is fading to the strength. It finally got below 80. If people are familiar with this, is stochastics indicator. It tells you the strength. 80 and 90 is like very strong overbought. 90 100 extreme overbought. 0 to 10 is oversold extreme. Then 10 to 20 is very oversold. Then in between, you can see the middle line 50. So this is coming down. See, this is at 76 though. A lot of these moves look like they're having trouble, at their high points now. I don't know what that means. for the market or everything else, but just in general, a lot of these moves are getting way, overbought and they're not going up that much higher at this point. 140 would be the trend line I would look for here. And then you'd look for 150 first, around 150. All right, JOBY. There's Joby. This is 5, goes to 9, goes all the way to 21 in a few months. Comes back almost like a double top. It's having trouble getting back to the high. And the weekly tune. Let's look at the weekly. January dip down, low in the market. We go all the way up here. Stochastics at a 95. Then your next little move here, you see indicator 68. That's lower, and you're going lower. So you have two shooting stars here, actually here. So it can't get over this 19 and about, you'd say 1836. So that's interesting to see. Ruby CRW. All right, here's CoreWeave. Yeah, remember this IPO? It was like 30, 60, goes all the way up near 190. Look at it run in May, June. And this faded all the way down. You had a good bounce to 150. Yeah, what's it doing now? It's struggling to get over 150. And you get this move up. And that's like rounding motion, very choppy. You can see, look at stochastics again. High get lower, high get lower. You're below 50 line, 37.59. This is going down. And you had a V here, and it's actually turning now. It tells me this is probably going lower at this point. 128. I would watch this 120 line. And if you break 120, it's going to go much lower. Got some of the past ratings. So this is 97.7. Joby was 97.9, 98 AMD. Hood was 98.1, MU 98.2, CIN 98.3. So I'm just trying to get the pretty much top 20 here. What else we got? Everything in the STRL. Let me look at this. All right, it's a higher priced. What else we got here? IONS. Look at this go up. This was at 25. Here's a 45. It's at 73 right now. KTOS. Here's a big move down. This was at 65. Here's the 110. Look at that fade straight down now. Fade straight down. All right, so that is all large caps. Let's take a look. What's next? What should we do next? ETF, small caps. Let's take a look at some small caps. Here's AWHL. They have a negative here. I've never seen that. 0.05 cents. This went to 65 cents. Sketchy volume on this. Wow. This is a new IPO. What is up with this? Strength of this is at a 99.9. This has been around since 2000. Look at the peaks up 2008, 9. Oh my gosh, crazy. This is garbage, but high on the rating. All right, here is SPRB. Crazy stock too. A lot of these small caps are pretty nuts. 450 went all the way down. 100. And then you had a big halt for months. Is that like 5 months? Comes back in the action. And look at this. After what's that, about a month, and then it goes right up. You're talking 20 to 240, and now it's fading. Very crazy stock. I stay away from that stuff. I'm not even wasting time on that. ARDS. Oh, SPRB was a 99.8 rating. ARDS, this is 99.8. Yeah, this gets no volume. A lot of these ratings too on the small caps, you got to look at the chart, the actual volume just gets nothing. Wolf, Wolf Speed. Yeah, had this low candle 120, it goes to 35. Now it's very choppy and messy. Zet. I remember doing Zep and on my algo, this was back, 251 goes to 15, goes all the way to 45. I think it goes to 60. Yeah, very choppy up here. Weekly chart. This is another one fading. See this? 92.59 stochastic. So just fade down. You're going below 80 now. There's another shooting star. Eventually, this could do this and then rate back down a big drop. That's possible. I've seen this before. So immediately I'd watch this 45 if you're playing this 42 line. Zep is a 99.7 rating. All right, here is NEGG. Yeah. Remember doing this June, July. Look at the algos. Algo. Break sending triangle breakout. Up again, 30. Get a 130. And then it goes all the way down, straight back down. But this trend line hell. Even though people are like, yeah, this is a total scam, not really. That's what they can do, penny stocks. This one all the way up to 130, it comes back. Look at the trend line right here. It stayed above. It's actually still going up. Because you look here, 5, 10, 30, still going up on this low line. And now it's going to break above, 55. Weekly chart is pointing down on the weekly. Monthly is pointing down. Negs at 99.7. BW. Babcock and Wilcox. This is one with the 375. That's a long time. Not a big run. Usually a penny stock will do that in a day, but it continues to go up. Weekly chart, it's crossing over. CRML. You have the 2 line. This goes to 8. You have the break of 8. This is a big run here, and this goes all the way to this cross. When you see a cross at the bottom of the top of a pattern, there's a change of direction. 32, you go down. There it is. There's the short. Weekly, that's a big shooting start, and you're starting to fade. Look at the high, get lower. You're at a 63 now, stochastics. It's fading down. So it's a fader right now. Here's NVTS. NVTS is a 99.6 rating. So you're at a 6. Eventually you break the 9 line. This goes to 17. Big move up. Weekly chart. See the crossover right here. 2351 stochastics going straight up still. So it's a beast long. ABVE. This puts in very sharp moves. April 50 cents to 50, 50 cents, 450, and then a pullback again and goes up even higher, 650 right now. Weekly chart is very choppy on stochastics indicator. A lot of these will be on penny stocks. There's GSIT. I did that today on my other video. You can see that move. Here's Omex. 50 cents. Look at this climb. 152 goes to 450. The weekly chart looks like it wants to fade there. And this could fade all the way down to 175 line. Here's stacks. You had to move in May 1, you get a 14, and now it's just a mess. See this? You're fading, you're bouncing. You don't want charts like that. This is very good uptrend until you hit a stop point. This too just went straight down. That's why these pennies, you got to be very careful. They will play all kinds of games. There's Prax. This one up, a big gap up. SOGP 5. This goes to 35. Big run, then you fade all the way down to 17. Weekly chart, there's a move up again, but lower, and this is fading down. Has to hold this little wick here. You're talking 1237, 1250. This is no volume, SRNE. Tron. Our Tron was up near 13, like a triple top, faded all the way down to 2, bounced the 4. Now it's coming back down again. Weekly chart, either crossover. I don't like this chart. Does not look good. Here's BETR. Oh, yeah, this is Better Home and Finance Holding Company. The algo picked this up. Imagine that back in 8, 12, 14. Goes to 20, goes all the way to 90 on that wick. Look at that wick. This is incredible. Came back again, weird sideways, dipped. Right there was oversold. And then you took off your 83 again. This is amazing. This is a 99.3 rating, still going up. This is a newer IPO too. This is up near, well, not 3,000 because there was a split, but whatever it was is very high. All right, here is SLGL. 5, 10, 15 goes to $50. Another one, Sogel Technologies. There's the algo picking it up. It's a steady climb, little moves down, and then there's the wick right there. Weekly chart. Yeah, it's another one starting to fade on the weekly after this big shooting star wick. ABAT. All right, ABAT 2 goes to 3. Look at this move here to 6. Goes to 11. Look at this big short come in. Now, if you're buying down here, it's a great move. You see that candle, you get out. When this drops like that, you're an out candle, and then it comes right back up. You got to wait for it, see what it does. Weekly chart, you can see that. Look at that shooting star wick. ABAT. BETR is a 99.3 rating. ABAT's a 99.2. ANRO. It's another one. 3 goes to 4, goes to 8. Pullback, consolidation. You go right back up. Look at today. 1145 you're at. And it's crossing up higher. This is newer IPO too. And then TMQ, this gapped up. It was at 2. It was at 11. Now it's fading. I don't like deal with anything gaps up like this. But that was the move on that. What else do we got here? Anything good? Looking down the list. NKTR. This is at 25. This goes all the way to 62. Look at this run. Trend line, low trend line. Get a watch. Eventually, it could drop to that 40 trend line. If it does, you Amy did a video on this. Yeah, this was at 7. The algo, beautiful pickup. Then 19. There's your fade and comes right back. And this looks like it wants to go back up. SLDP. This has been on a trend up. You're talking 150, 350, gives us 657. These are all high ratings. ATAI. Oh, excuse me. All right, here's the trend up on this. Look at this 150, 250. Perfect trend line. You're playing within the trend line. Look at it. Look what it does here. And it's staying within that range since May. And that's how some of these plays are. They'll stay on the uptrend, just keep going, bounce, dip, weekly charts staying above 80 zone. Monthly looks like it could be ending soon now. Look at that. It's ready to cross over. So be careful here after a run of 150 to 650. That's why when you're buying down here, you're playing these on swings, just like everything else. Back in April, again, April, you're at a 1330 stochastics. And look what happened. You're at 86. So the strength is good. You can stay strong for a long time. That's what it's doing. But eventually you get to watch because eventually, it'll drop. It's not going to stay up. Even like the market, some of these bioscience, life science, biotech, you be careful with them because whatever drugs, approvals, and all kinds of stuff happens with that, you got to be very careful with them, especially they're in a separate category. All right, so that's it. We did large cap and small caps. Maybe tomorrow I'll do mid and ETFs and we'll check them out. All right, little recap of the strength of these moves. Like some of these moves are incredible. They keep going up, up, and away on, in the market, these big movers, and they just keep going higher at this point. All right, that's it. Please subscribe to Mike Heyman Trades on YouTube. Smash the like button. That is it for now. Peace.